Hello, everybody. This is Rodney Kelton, the Fatherpreneur, coming at you with another amazing, purpose-driven blog post interview with an amazing guest with an amazing story. So first and foremost, welcome to the blog tonight. Welcome to fatherpreneurship.com tonight. Get ready to listen, learn, be educated, motivated, and inspired by tonight's guest. He has an amazing story that many people probably couldn't survive in their lifetime. So without going into a super long introduction, my guest for tonight is Dudley Thurmond, Dr. Bounceback. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bounceback.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So just before we tell too much of the story, how did you get your name, Dr. Bounceback?
It actually came from a mentor of mine's, man. We met. It wasn't a planned circumstance that we met on, and we met, and he said he wanted to be my mentor, and he started learning more about me and my story. And he said, "Man, how did you do it? How did you recover every time after something tragically happened to you?" He said, "Man, you Dr. Bounceback. You're the doctor of bouncing back." And that's how I got that.
So as we continue to tell his story, he shares his story, you're going to see why he's called Dr. Bounceback. And so I always like to start from as close to the beginning as possible for all my guests' stories. So tell a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from and where your story begins.
Well, I'm originally from Hamilton, Ohio, small city, small town, probably about 30 minutes outside of Cincinnati. That's where I originate at. It's a real impoverished place. The things that I can remember that went on there when I was a kid, everybody was selling drugs. Someone in each family was related to drugs in some way. A lot of alcoholics and criminal activity and stuff like that went on where I'm from. And from that point, my mom decided that she wanted to give me, my two brothers, and my sister, more of a shot at success. And that's when we rolled out. We left Hamilton, Ohio when I was about 7, 8 years old. We all left. Each one of us had one change of clothes. My mom had about $20 left over in her pocket, and we had that famous bag of cold fried chicken that we traveled with, man. And we arrived in Aurora, Colorado, to live with my aunt.
And Aurora, for people who don't know, is that pretty close to Denver?
Yeah, Denver and Aurora, they're pretty much connected. Yeah, they're pretty much connected.
So, an impromptu but drastic move, I'm guessing your mother felt it was necessary to provide a better life for you and your siblings. So you get to this brand new city at what age, and then what was your impression once you landed?
We got here, I was about, like I said, I think I was 7 years old to be exact. And we touched down here in Colorado, and it was a culture shock. It was so different from what we had saw. And even though she had took us away from the real hood, my mentality was still in the hood, and it was kind of just in me, and when I hit the ground, my feet hit the ground, and we started getting, settled in, but things started moving real fast for me. I started getting involved with multiple fights. I stopped taking school serious. I was having small run-ins with the police by the time I was in middle school. I had kind of created a cycle by then. That's why I say bad habits. I kind of created a cycle. Started getting suspended in middle school. That same cycle followed me to high school, but football was my outlet. That was the one thing that I was truly passionate about was football. I was very gifted and talented when it came to the game of football. And it just wasn't enough, because at that point I still wasn't taking my education very serious. I had to grow up without a father, That was one setback. And then my mindset wasn't developed enough. Well, I didn't have the mindset to succeed. That's what I call it. Just a winner's quality mindset. I had the skill set to survive on the streets. I had the skill set to play the game of football, but I didn't have the mindset to win overall. And I played ball, man, got suspended several times in high school, wasn't taking my education very serious, and I missed out on a lot of good opportunities. I'll let you hop in right now to see specifically what you want me to talk to
So
you
when
about.
we talk about you're a gifted athlete, and you're really touching on something already that I hope people are keying in on, is that you had skill sets, but you didn't have the mindset. So tell us about opportunities. Like, so you're a gifted athlete, but you weren't all the way getting right with your academics. Tell us about some of the opportunities you missed out on in high school because of the lack of a mindset.
Well, I didn't have the winner's quality mindset. Like I said, my mindset was underdeveloped, but I had the skill set on the field to win. And when I speak, I specifically talk about taking advantage of good opportunities. Now, throughout your life, you're going to be presented with several opportunities, you know, and there's always a window. There's always a window in which you can access that opportunity. And that window doesn't stay open forever. At some point, that window will close and you can't open it back up. And when I was in high school, as I said, I wasn't taking education serious, and I didn't get that Division I scholarship fresh out of high school, you know. But about, I say, 2 years out of high school, maybe a year out of high school, I decided, you know, that I want to take it serious. I want to, you know, go to college and play ball and all that stuff. So I ended up going to a junior college out in Kansas, Garden City Junior College. And the day I got there, there was a coach from Kansas State University that met me outside the athletic director's office. Now, this guy, I didn't have a clue who he was. He knew who I was, and he told me, "Hey, you know, I'm such and such, defensive coordinator from Kansas State University. We want to bring you up here to play ball after you're done here at Garden City. How does that sound?" You know, and I said, "Man, that sounds phenomenal." You know, I was excited about it, but I didn't harness that opportunity. I did the same thing I had done in high school and middle school. I acted a fool. I wilded out and I partied, went home for the summer, didn't go back for the fall season, and missed opportunity number one. Now, about a year after that, I got blessed with another opportunity, and it was football, you know, but Division II schools was my only option at that point if I wanted all my eligibility to be able to play all my 5 years. So I put together some highlight tapes. I sent them out to some colleges, man, and I got a call back from a Division II school, and they wanted me to come up and play ball there. Only under one circumstance, and that was that I went to summer school and I get at least a B average, and if I get a B average, then my credits would be on point, my GPA, everything would be good to come and play for the fall season. So I started going to summer school, man, and I trained for football all summer. I trained and went to summer school. I was training with this guy, Lindell White. He played in the league, and his uncle, and we were down there at Skyland Rec Center, man, grinding, training every day, going to summer school every day. Last day of summer school came. I got my grades. I got the exact grades that I needed in order to get to school. My GPA was on point. Everything was perfect. You know, when it had me a little celebration dinner, all that. And I went out that night, man. I made a choice and a decision to go out and party that night, which I shouldn't have did, because on that night, the day I finished summer school, I was going to be leaving to start football camp in 3 days, man. I went out, partied, and I got stabbed. I got stabbed with a sword this long. It went through my back and it came out my stomach. And that was my second opportunity. If I would have took advantage of the first one, I probably would have been fine. But apparently that window of opportunity was closed, man. And I almost lost my life that night, and I had to recover from it. Long, strenuous recovery, man. That's just a small example of some of the things that I've been through.
So at this moment, you had it lined up. You know, this is your second chance at playing collegiate sports, collegiate football.
Right.
You did everything right.
Right.
But one decision jeopardized that for you. And now, not only, is football gone, but you looking at, am I going to open my eyes ever again?
Right.
And obviously we're here talking to you. So thank you, thanks to the grace of God, you're here. But in the moment, and in that moment you're recovering, can you tell us some of the things that went through your mind? Like, what were you processing? What were you feeling? What were you thinking about?
As far as recovery, or when the initial accident happened?
All of it. You can start with the accident.
Well, the night it happened, I speak very vividly about this story because, I mean, I laid on an emergency room table, all the doctors around me, I'm fading in and out. They all working on me. And, only thing I can do is think to myself about my opportunity. And am I going to die? Am I fading away? Am I dying? What's going on? And that opportunity just slipped further and further away from me as I faded off into that deep sleep that night. And, by the time I was out, the opportunity was gone, man. And I woke up the next day, though, I was all drugged up and stuff. And that's when reality really hit. And recovery was no joke. I was pushed around in a wheelchair for a few weeks, and I eventually got out the hospital after a few weeks. But I had to make a choice, when I got out the hospital. I had to make a choice and a decision. Am I going to continue to feel sorry for myself, or am I going to give myself no choice but to bounce back and recover? And that's when that resilience trait set in, and I had to reach down and grab something that we all have. It's all deep down inside of us, man. I had to reach down and grab and harness that resilience that was sitting deep inside of me, man. And I had to harness that and give myself no choice but to recover. And I believe that every human being has that trait of resilience. And at some point in time in their life, they've had to use it. I believe that they need to learn how to access that trait and that feeling of resilience more frequently. And it can help them, on a regular basis with everyday obstacles. But that's a little bit off of the subject, man. But that's really what my recovery was about. But I didn't stop there. I stayed in the streets, and I continued to bump my head time after time with a mass of other situations.
So let's delve into that part of your life where now you've gone through recovery, but yet you go to the streets for whatever it is. Tell us about the mentality saying, I lived through this near-death experience. I no longer have college football as a viable option. Why the streets? What was it in you that said that's my avenue at that time?
Honestly, I have no idea what it was that kept driving me back to the streets. I guess maybe it was rebellion. I deep down inside, I knew what I should have been doing. I knew the direction that I should have been going. But I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, man. And God doesn't make any mistakes. I stayed out there in the streets because I believe in my heart that that's where God wanted me to be. Because if I didn't stay out there in the streets and have those experiences that I have, how would I be able to help the people that I'm helping today? How would I be able to tell this miraculous story of recovery and fail and recoup and fail and recoup and bounce back? I mean, I wouldn't even be able to tell that story. So God kept me out there, I feel like, and he kept me safe. He kept me from my life being taken away, and I continue to have these setbacks and these obstacles come in front of me, and I continue to overcome them. I mean, every time, even though I was still standing in the streets, I was overcoming every obstacle that came upon me. And even in my book that I'm writing right now, that I'm gonna have coming out, I think I'll have that book on the ground within the next 4 or 5 months. It's all about overcoming and recovering from setbacks, man, because I've done it so many times. So I believe that what kept me in the streets is bigger than what I can even explain.
So I'm sure by this time you're transitioning into young adulthood, tell me, I know that you have children, but when did the children come into this part of your life? And did it have an effect on the way that you were thinking?
Well, I've always been a part of my kids' life. Right now, I have two boys. One is 15, one is 9. At the time that I got stabbed, my oldest boy was probably about 10 years old. No. When I got stabbed, he was about 3 years old. I apologize. He was about 3 or 4 years old. He was really young, you know, and I was an everyday father to him. However, I was still out in the streets, you know. I was still out there doing things and hustling and all that. And what I didn't realize at the time, which a lot of parents don't, is our actions as parents become our kids' circumstances. No matter what we do, good or bad, it's going to affect our children. I don't care, for the rest of their lives, no matter how old they are. So even though I love my son and I love him dearly and I do anything for him, I was still putting myself in predicaments and in positions that could take me away from him. And I didn't recognize that. So the stabbing situation happened. And then, you know, a few years later, I had my other boy. And same thing, I was an all-in father, took care of my kids, but still I wasn't recognizing that, you know, my actions become their circumstances. Our actions as parents become their circumstances. And I was still putting myself in those positions, in those predicaments, man. And I just kept going and I kept going and going and going till I found myself standing in a courtroom before a judge this time. And my oldest boy at that time was about 10, 11, and my baby boy couldn't have been no more than 5. And that time it was real. You know, it was the end of the road. You know, we were waiting on the judge to read back a verdict from a trial that I had been in all week. And that's when it got real. And that judge read that verdict back as guilty. And I was stripped from my kids. My mom was there. My kid's mother was there. I was stripped from everyone and thrown into custody immediately, looking at 17 years. And that's when reality struck.
So most people may not know this, but the streets don't have a retirement plan or 401k.
Sure
And
don't.
here you are finding yourself, you know, now faced with the results of your decisions, you know, your best thinking, your mindset at that time, and it cost you your freedom. You're looking at basically a lifetime, not life, but a lifetime in prison. 17 years is a lifetime.
Yes.
In this moment where you're an all-in father, even though you're in the streets, you love your kids. What does that feel like for people out there that have experience or never have experience? Tell us, as a man, as a father, how does that moment feel when you like, I might be away from my children for close to 2 decades?
I felt like my heart was ripped out of my body. I mean, I yelled and cried like a baby. Being taken away from my kids, it was the most horrifying feeling ever. And for the first time in my life, I had to come face to face with myself. You know, I had to start thinking about my kids and how much I love them. I had to look at the man in the mirror, you know, and man, the feeling was worse than any stabbing, any motorcycle accident or car accident I've ever been in. And I've been through all that. I've been thrown all across the ground, man.
Wow. You know, I don't think a lot of people in the life really, I mean, they may be doing it for that quick buck. They may be doing it for, you know, for that moment. They think they're doing what they have to do. But counting the costs is something that somebody who's matured can really do, you know. And I don't know at this time, you know, what your education level may have been, that if there were other options. But as we journey along, you know, we talked about this part of your story, which I know could easily be made into a movie, where you're taken away from your children. You get sent to whatever prison. I don't know, you know, the name of the prison. I'm guessing in the state of Colorado.
Yes.
And you arrive at prison. You're going through all these emotions. You're away from your kids. You have to deal with that. But there's a pivotal moment where you know, somebody comes into your life. You're sort
Yes.
of
Yes.
face to face with a group of men, and you don't really know what's about to happen. Can you tell us that part of the story, like lead up, and then tell us that moment in that cell?
Well, I believe that before I even go into that, I believe that every individual that walks the face of this earth was put on the face of this earth for a reason. Everyone has a purpose, but sometimes you're out there moving too fast, you're jumping and jiving. You can't realize and see what your purpose is. Your vision is obscured. It's not clear. You can't see what your purpose is. So I got sent to this prison so the man upstairs could reveal to me what my purpose here on this earth is. And I got there, man, and I had a few homies there, and I didn't fool with nobody or anything, and randomly some guys started approaching me, asking me if I wanted to be a part of this Choices program, and I'm like, I don't know anything about the Choices program. I have no idea what it is. I don't know what to tell you. And they said, well, if we invite you out to a meeting, will you come? And so I said, cool, man. I got a little slip. They invited me out, and I went and walked into this classroom. Probably a week later, I walked into this classroom, and these 8 guys were sitting there in chairs. They all had on green, just like me, and the door shut behind me. And I'm like, oh, man, what's going on? And they're like, all right, man, you got 15 minutes. Go. So I just put my dukes up. I thought it was time, man. I thought they was for the jump on me. But they all started laughing, and they was like, nah, man, you got 15 minutes. I was like, for what? They was like, you got 15 minutes to tell us about yourself. Go. And I delivered for 15 minutes. I've never done anything like that in my life. And they said, you've done this before, huh? I said, done what? They said, you've spoken before, right? I said, no, I've never done this before. Apparently, these guys were running a program where they bring educators, parents, kids into the facility, and they put on presentations, but it wasn't no beyond scare straight stuff. I'm talking about these dudes were delivering speeches, powerful speeches. They were public speaking, like what you see on YouTube every day, what you see on stages every day. These guys were doing it. And apparently out of 1,600 plus inmates, only 8 guys were selected to be in this program. So these dudes were the real deal. They had props on stages, audio. They mentored one-on-one during lunch with the kids. It wasn't no bull. It was the real deal. And I wowed these guys. And they said, we want you to open up for our next presentation. And I opened up and gave my personal history. And from that point, I opened up every event that they had, and I became one of the top speakers. Apparently, my purpose was being revealed to me, but it had to be revealed to me behind those walls, But gracefully and luckily of me, I was able to shift my mindset. That's what it's all about. I don't care what life you've lived, what life you live in. If you can begin to think differently, you shift your mindset, your whole life will change, because then you'll be developing the mindset to win. Everyone has skills, but if you don't have the right mindset, you're still not going anywhere. So what I speak about is mindset development.
So, I mean, already this has been an amazing story, and I'm going to recap for people if they, maybe just jumping on to watching live or on the replay. My guest tonight, Dudley Thurmond, Dr. Bounceback, went through poverty and the deepest of ghettos in Ohio to Colorado, the Denver Aurora area, grows up, has a hard time adjusting, gets into trouble, suspensions, street life calls. He misses out on 2 college football opportunities. He stays in the streets. He's ripped away from his children. And for the first time, he's had to face himself. Even though he had skill sets, he had the wrong mindset. And it took being incarcerated to find his purpose. Now that you're walking in your purpose, Dudley, this is really the part that gets my blood pumping and excited to share with other people, is that you didn't expect what was coming next, but you're there opening up for this public speaking program doing time.
Doing time, changing lives.
Tell us what happened. I got a smile on my face asking now. Tell us what happened next that came out of the blue, seemingly out of the blue.
Following the presentations, or
Yeah, how long were you doing these presentations before this opportunity came up that we both know?
I was doing these presentations. I was in a program for probably like a couple months, and I told you guys that I was looking at 17 years. Well, when I went to sentencing, the judge ended up giving me 7 years. And so I immediately went to that facility. Those guys came. I got involved in that program. I started speaking and doing all those things. And it wasn't even a year, not even a year. The judge brought me back to court. I wasn't even gone a year. The judge brings me back to court, and she wants to reconsider my sentence. And I quote her words: "There's work for you to do out there. There's work for you to do." And she suspended everything: prison sentence, parole. She suspended everything, and I hit the ground running, man. I mean, after I got out, not even 6 months later, I was at a university somewhere in Missouri delivering keynote speeches. You feel me? Like, it can really happen. You can really shift your mindset, and it can really open up doors for you. I am so serious. If you can recognize and find your purpose, just your purpose, if you can figure out what it is and you start walking in it, the doors will open up, the gates will open up, the blessings will flow. I kid you not, I'm a living testimony.
Man, I don't know if you saw how big the smile was on my face, but you know, I mean, your story is what, I mean, if we can do it without the beginning part, that'd be better for everybody, but we all got to go through certain things so we can encourage and motivate and inspire people that have been through it to know what's possible. Yes. So, I mean, I'm lit up with this testimony. As you were, you know, leading up to this, which you didn't see coming, you weren't doing it because you knew you would get your sentence reduced. You were just simply operating in your God-given purpose. And I have a saying, I say, we are all here on purpose for a purpose.
I totally agree.
Now, as you're doing these, you're starting to open, you become the go-to speaker. Tell us, how did you work on your mindset? Like, what were you introduced to change your mindset during this time?
I say the first thing that I did to start shifting my mindset is I had to start, you know, asking myself those questions, you know, those real life changing questions, those questions that allow you to hold yourself accountable for your actions. That was the first thing I did, you know. I started asking myself, you know, dude, what are your values? You know, what are your morals, man? You know, what do you live for? What do you wake up for every day? My kids, my babies, I love them. You know, I started thinking about these things. I started thinking about, you know, what would I get if I had to give my life for something today? If I had to lay my life down for something today, what would it be? Would it be some BS out there on the streets, or would it be for something meaningful, something that would change thousands of lives, or my baby, or, you know? So I started asking myself those empowering, life-changing questions, which a lot of people run from because they don't want to hold themselves accountable. I believe that that's the first thing to shift in your mindset, is asking yourself those empowering questions.
Wow. So now this is sort of like a time of reflection and introspection. Were there any other habits? Like, you know, I listen to a lot of, you know, self-help people and motivational speakers. There's certain things that they do every day. And I'm doing this, I'm probing you to help other people see what it really takes, because it doesn't matter what lifestyle you come from, what ethnic background, what financial background you come from. There are certain things that we all can do and have to do to become the kind of person it takes to bring our vision and our purpose to pass. So was there like a daily regimen you did, or was there certain things that you did differently now that you were becoming this person that helped you transform?
Definitely. There was things that I did on an everyday basis that I didn't do before, or there was things that I did before on an everyday basis that I stopped doing at that point. You know, I really had to start conditioning my mind for success. So I started self-educating. I started reading as many books as I can. I started listening more instead of talking so much. Um, I mean, the knowledge is unlimited and it's free. I mean, you can go to the local library, you can have a conversation with a successful person. You gotta be a sponge. You have to be a sponge if you're trying to get to the next level, if you're trying to change, if you're trying to transition into something. You gotta talk to those successful people, man. And every day I started self-educating myself. I started, I made a list of those empowering questions, and I looked at those questions and I answered those questions every day. I started watching the way I talk, watching the way I spoke about other people, watching the way I spoke about myself. And most importantly, man, I created a vision for myself. Vision is the number one thing that was holding me back from being the man that I am today. It was a vision. So number one, I had to create that vision for myself.
So now, you haven't even been there, but about a year. You're out, you're free, you're starting to walk in your purpose. You're now becoming a sought after speaker. You're speaking to universities. Tell us, because we sort of missed this part on the out, or we caught it on the end. When you got out and your family learned about it and you came home to your sons, to your mother, to your children's mother, tell us how that felt and what that did to you as a man.
Well, I had shifted my mindset drastically before I even came home. So by the time I got home, I had a pretty good idea of the father and the man that I needed to be. And instead of me being so selfish like I was before, when I wasn't taking into consideration that I could be taken away from my kids with some of the things that I was doing. Instead, I was so unselfish when I came home, man. I was all about giving. I was all about love. I was all about trying to help my kids and their mom get to the next level. I was even willing to put myself on hold, man. I just made some drastic changes within my life, and when I stepped out, I was kind of a new man. I used a bad experience to get positive results. And that's what people don't understand. Just because you got locked up, or just because you got in trouble with the law, or something happened, that doesn't mean that you have to continue to live within that moment. Change is inevitable. Everything changes. The weather changes. Uh, every the style of dress changes, cars, everything evolves. So for you to continue to live in that old thing that you went through, um, is really restricting you from growing, man. So you just got to accept that positive change, and want to better yourself, and move forward.
Tell us about the moment that you saw your kids again after a year being away. Tell us about the emotions, the feeling, the relief, whatever it was for you. Tell us about that.
Man, all I remember was, they didn't even know what had happened. They didn't even know about the possibility of me getting out like that. Because we knew the judge was calling me back, but we didn't know what she was going to do. And so she let me right out, and they were still at school, and I was sitting there on the couch, and they walked in the house, man, and I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. They just ran and jumped in my arms, and from that point, I mean, I told them uh, spiritually. I don't even know if I told them verbally that they'll never have to worry about that again. ever. They'll never have to worry about me making dumb decisions or anything to be taken away from them again, you know.
Man, this is, you know, as a father, I have two children, and you know, I made my decision to see. My thing was workaholism, so I decided to stop being a workaholic. And every decision I made was to be more present and engage with them, and then to help other people do the same thing. So that moment that you just talked about really hits home for me, even though it was incarceration for you that took you away from your children. So many men and women too, we get stuck in our own mindsets that keep us stuck. Right. And away from being in and involved in our children's life. And you know, I've had some near-death experiences. I've been laid off, let go, fired. And I realized that if I would have died back in 2008 when my left artery was closing because I was a workaholic, I didn't exercise, didn't eat right, I realized I would have left my son with nothing. For you, there was two, you know, you had your near-death experience, you got incarcerated, you could have been gone for 17 years. But those moments make us realize what's really important.
Definitely.
I just truly appreciate you sharing that moment. That's why I wanted to dwell on that for just a second, because I'm trying to bring home a point to the men out there to understand what really matters. And I have another saying that says we have to stop giving our lives to places that don't give us life back.
Right.
You were giving your life to the streets, you were giving your life to penitentiaries, but now you're giving your life to your children.
Definitely.
So now as we continue, go ahead and to begin the wrap-up process, I want you to talk a little bit about the things that we can expect from Dr. Bounce Back, and to give us, something to chew on as we leave. So first, let's start with the something to chew on. So if there was a message that you had, just a moment to speaking to somebody that is trying to change their life, that's trying to get it together, trying to be a better man, a better father, a better parent, what would that message be?
Well, first and foremost, I want all the fathers out there to understand that we are in the United States of America. Yes, the U.S. leads the world in fatherless families. 34% of U.S. kids live in homes where father does not exist. Nearly 40% of those kids haven't seen their father in over a year, and more than half of those fatherless children have never been in their father's home before. Now, the number of kids being raised in single family homes, single mother homes, it tripled. It's tripled and just spiraled out of control from 1960. And I'm gonna give you some more statistics. There are approximately 24 million fatherless children in this country. And each one of those kids represent an impressionable, fragile child that has never been disciplined. They've been denied that discipline and that example that only a father can give. And you wonder why our country in this world is the way it is. I'm so passionate about it because I was one of those fatherless kids. Maybe that's what it was. So if I can give any message to these fathers, I'm just telling you to stand up. Be a stand-up father. Be a stand-up guy. Realize that our word as fathers is our bond to our children, no matter how old or young they are. You got to have a vision upon your own personal life in order to be a productive parent. No, a visionless father cannot guide a child. Same thing with a mother. So I just encourage all the fathers out there to be stand-up guys, man. Let's make this world a better place by being fathers, by being better fathers. If you are an excellent father out there, I applaud you. However, we got to look to the younger generation. We got to look to the ones that were raised without fathers that really still have no clue. And we got to provide mentorship. We got to provide the medicine to what it takes to be a productive father. And I believe that we can start making this world a better place together.
I mean, your message is my message. My hairs, if I have much hair on my body, is standing up right now.
And I haven't even heard your message. Wow.
I mean, this is what I'm doing these things about.
Yes, sir.
It is for men specific. I really, You know, women are buying into my vision. They're connecting. They're supporting. But I feel so strongly that the foundation of the family begins with a man. If you think of ourselves as a pyramid, we're the bottom of the pyramid holding up the family. And we remove ourselves from that piece, we can't be surprised at all the problems, exactly what Dr. Bounceback is talking about. Why there's so many things happening with our youth, with lack of discipline, lack of fathers, why they're acting out, why they're doing the things that they're doing. Men, this is a call to action.
Yes, it is.
So we can go to a whole other show about that, but to wrap this up, to bring it all home, I mean, you delivered such amazing amounts of value tonight. I truly appreciate you, Brother Thurmond, Dr. Bounceback, for sharing your story, for opening up, for sending a message and a call to action for the men out there. Now, I know we briefly talked about a book. I want you to talk about, you know, when we can expect the book to come out, if there's a title, and then how people can contact you, how they can book you, how they can work with you, all those things.
There is a book coming out. I'm hoping for it to be on the ground within the next 5 months. I will not share the title with you, but it will be a life changer. I am probably in the middle stages. I'm rushing it. So I'm hoping to have it on the ground within 5 months. It's going to be a life changer, a game changer. I can guarantee you that, because it's going to be about my life, everything I've been through, and how I was able to shift my mindset and overcome repeatedly obstacles. Like I said, I was stabbed. I was in a motorcycle accident. You probably can't see, but my left eyelid is stitched on from plastic surgery, from a car accident. The list goes on. That would be, you know, what my book will be about. You can catch me on I'm on Facebook a lot, Dudley Thurmond, or Dudley Thurmond, Dr. Bounceback. I encourage everyone to come view my website. Come check me out, www.dudleythurmond.com. I have email address on there. Website is still growing, still developing. So expect some new videos and some new audios and stuff to come soon within the next month or so. And we're just going to keep rolling, man, keep grinding it out. But things are moving ahead. I may be in a city near you one day.
And so to book you, people can go to the website, Dudley Thurmond, DudleyThurmond.com.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, this is somebody, if you're hiring for motivational speakers, inspirational speakers, especially for groups of men, young men, whatever group, they need to hear this story. This is somebody you want to look at. I want to, again, say thank you to Dudley Thurmond, a.k.a. Dr. Bounceback, for taking the time out. He's in a different time zone, a different state, taking time away from his family to provide value for you. I am Rodney Kellum, the fatherpreneur, owner of fatherpreneurship.com. I want to say thank you all for your most valuable commodity on earth, which is your time, because once you give it away, you never get it back. Stay tuned for more interviews like this. There's already 2 other ones on fatherpreneurship.com. If you're looking for information on how to heal as a man, how to grow as a man, stay tuned to this blog, because I'm bringing more interviews and content just like this. You know, again, thank you to Dr. Thurmond, or Dr. Bounceback. And I want to say thank you again, and good night. See you in the next post or video.